Hi everyone, I've got Robert Kirby here again, and we're talking about relationships. The next topic we're going to talk about is communication. And again, most clients are talking about these issues. I can't communicate with my partner. So communication, the ingredients are obviously trust, safety, acceptance, and connection. And obviously at the start of relationships, we can communicate because obviously how do we get, that relationship happening at the beginning, right? So it's pretty obvious that there are ways we are communicating, and we're doing that obviously at a level that attracts the partner to us, connects with that partner. And, that is a certain style of communication as well. And it's also to do with the phases in the relationship. So, just throwing it over to you, Rob, why are people communicating at a great level and then, it's suddenly shifting to like, I actually hate this person, right?
Yeah. It's interesting because I think it has to do with different stages of that everyone goes through in relationships. And the younger you are, the more innocent stage you have in life, the longer that honeymoon lasts, so that romantic phase. And it's so sweet when you see a young couple falling in love. But let's say a couple's been through a one or two long-term relationships, and they're in their mid 40s or 50s, and they fall in love again. How wonderful. But that honeymoon's going to wear off much quicker because we have more life experience, and we know that nothing lasts forever. There's a stage there, and we have to work through it. So I think it's good to understand that without saying you're not the way you used to be. Instead of that, teenage blaming, finger pointing, is just say, "Oh, okay, sweetie pie, looks like our honeymoon is over, and there's a bit of a power struggle here. So a bit of a communication breakdown, and so let's go work on it." So one of the first things that I do with a couple who's in this power struggle, honeymoon is definitely over. They're still attracted to each other. They're not having affairs, but there's it's a bit polarized. They're dynamic. As I say, let's have a handful of therapy sessions with each of you alone. I don't think anybody's right or wrong. It's 50-50. You co-created this. Every couple goes through this. We're just human, and I'm not on anybody's side. So I just want you to know that. That's the most important thing. The biggest breakdown in therapy, like couples therapy, is that either the husband or the wife, the man or the woman, thinks the therapist is on their partner's side. And, it's so important. I clarify that up front. I want you both to win. Hey, you got kids at home, and things like that. Divorce is way more expensive than therapy. Let's get this right away. So I just wanted to say that up front. But when I get the person alone, I say, okay, there's a power struggle, but how does this reflect on your relationship with you? How do you communicate with yourself over time? Because we spend a lot more time in our relationship with ourself communicating our thoughts all day long, right? Even our dreams at night when we're sleeping. We're processing information, experiences with men and women at work, perhaps, or your partner's criticism triggers your ex, or the opposite sex parent who was critical of you. It triggers stuff all the time. So I think when people have a very grounded relationship where they can process their negative thinking about themselves, then they can say, all right, look, I feel good about myself, so I can go back in to communication with my partner, with my husband, with my wife. I can say, look, it's 50-50. Let's work through it. Because underneath all this garbage we're projecting onto each other, we love each other. So I think that's really important to be at cause. You know that. Because if you just say, don't talk to me like that, if you're just telling someone how to behave, then they're just like secretly saying, like, who does he think he is? You know? So I think that's so important that you work on the relationship with yourself first and foremost. And then you come back. I try to give them insights into what a power struggle really is. It's sort of like you don't want to get steamrolled. You want to be treated with respect and dignity. because you had some issues with your parents, particularly the opposite sex parent. You know, if it's a man and a woman
Got
relationship,
you. Got you.
the opposite sex parent has a huge impact on the way you communicate with your partner, because that's what the training ground was when you were very little, or you know, preteen, young teen, all that. Lifelong, as long as that parent's alive, that relationship, in most cases, is still going on. So I think it's so important that we work on ourself. Uh, it doesn't have to be separate; it could be concurrent. But I think you know, a few sessions with you first would be very valuable. Does that make sense?
Yeah, look, definitely, because I can see if both part if both people in a joint session are very triggered. I've had sessions where people are just venting, they're not listening, they're arguing, and it doesn't really go anywhere. And after the session,
Exactly. It's
the
just spinning.
the
Yeah.
relationship is actually the therapy, the session hasn't helped anyone. And look, if they don't if we don't set the rules there, and look, we could set the rules there. Look, this is a safe space. If they don't follow those rules because they feel, you know, they're losing their power, even in the therapy session, they're going to really start to jeopardize it and not make it constructive. So you're saying is, okay, let's work individually. Let's understand what's happening here. Let's do our own work. And you've got a whole process where, you know, you can take clients through, you know, shadow work, understanding their character, understanding their behavior. And you know, if clients want to really get into that and really take the responsibility, the ownership of that, then when they do the joint sessions, they're going to, you know, really see that the impact of it. So, and look, that's what, unfortunately, most couple counseling, they just get the two couples in there and they're more of a mediator, and they just let each other talk, vent, don't really set any boundaries or rules, and it doesn't really go anywhere. I mean,
It doesn't, Shaw, let me interrupt. It doesn't go anywhere, and that's why the divorce rate is higher than ever worldwide.
it,
You don't talk it out. It doesn't matter if a therapist is there or not. You could talk it out, you know, with a glass of wine in your backyard, you know, sitting down talking it out. But what you need a therapist for is to help you differentiate what is about your history, what is about your relationship with you, and not about your partner. This way, you take your power back, and you don't need to dump that stuff just because your partner's having a difficult day. You don't have to take it so personal. Does that make sense?
definitely. So what you're saying is, a therapist, because we work in this area all the time, can identify the blind spots and can
Yes.
call them out at the end of the day. That, you know, are you going to listen to your partner? Is your partner going to understand, you know, what's happening with the communication? And that's really, you know, where we come in. We come in to say, look, this is amplified. You know, what your partner is doing here is, I mean, it wouldn't cause concern to most people, but what you're seeing here is causing you to be jealous, you know, angry. It looks like, you know, there's something deeper happening here. And look,
Yeah.
jealousy is a huge one,
Oh, yeah.
with communication.
Absolutely. So one of the things I think is really important at this point in our discussion is to talk about the idea of the communication, to clear up the communication and the boundaries before the arguing gets too contemptuous.
Gotcha.
Once we start throwing contemptuous comments at each other, it's over. You can't take it back. Can I give you a couple of quick examples?
Yeah, let's look at those
I'll give you
examples.
an example. You're saying, you know, you are one bitch. You know, all I have to do is say the wrong thing, and you go into this bitch. You're just like your mother. She's a bitch. Your grandmother and our daughter, you know, she's a teenager and she's learning the same bitchy thing. So you might say that, and you might love your wife to the moon and back. But once you say that, you've broken her heart because you just put down her whole family and your daughter. You could say that in less than a minute. And I'll give the opposite example. The wife's very angry. The business is losing money. You're just like your father. How many businesses did he go bankrupt? You're a loser, just like your dad. It runs in the family. How did I get stuck in this environment? My dad was a big success. How long did it take me to say that?
It goes right to the core in a few seconds, right?
Woo! Less than half a minute, I said that. And that destroys a man's heart and dignity. He may still love her, but he'll never feel as close to her or vulnerable again. So contemptuousness is the king killer of and a big cause of divorce. And of course, if someone has addictions, they're more likely to say things like that. If someone is had too many drinks or they're on drugs or something and they're spinning out, they'll just blurt it out. And basically, it's really a dream killer. So I tell couples this up front. You don't want to go there. Let's resolve this right here, right now. In therapy, and maybe you attend a retreat or a relationship workshop with me, and let's clean this up because we're all just human. We don't want to start transference from unfinished business with our opposite sex parent. We don't want to, transfer or project our unfinished business with our ex onto our partner. And we do this all the time, don't we? So that's why I think this is the key, to get this communication done in a way that's very mature and very responsible. I own my shit, you own yours, and we can clear it up.
Beautiful advice, Robert. Thanks for that. Let's go see you on the next session. Bye, everyone.
Fantastic. I look forward to it. Thanks, Sha.